What if you had a personal digital assistant that with one click greatly improved your online car shopping experience? Eric Brown, CEO of inSearchX, is here to explain how easy and effective AskOtto works. Jade Terreberry of Cox Automotive Inc. is also here to join our discussion about connecting you with the experts. So please say hello and feel welcome. This is ATI Auto Business. What's up, ecosystem? Welcome back to ATI Auto Business, automotive ecosystem, where everyone, well, some people learn more about how the automotive industry really works. Let's get started with top headlines and industry news that includes tariffs on parts will mess up your fixed ops. Job cuts remain controversial in the news. ARA beef and dealer pain coming this summer. Hello, YouTube. Hello, LinkedIn. We are live. This is show 395 on Automotive Ecosystem, on ATI Auto Business. AskOtto, one-click inSearchX shopping digital assistant. We're going to learn what this is, what it does, how it works. It's called AskOtto. And, okay, it looks a little complicated. Vehicle content, promos, but it saves to your phone. It's to simplify things for you. We're going to learn how it does that. And in fact, Eric was at Auto Intel Summit talking about how AI is making the lead form, inventory, API, and your website obsolete. If you haven't heard Eric talk, this is a treat. He's here tonight. Eric Brown, CEO of inSearchX, and he is invited along to join the discussion. Jade Terreberry of Cox Automotive is with us. And if we're lucky, she's going to tell us a little bit more about Unjaded and her podcast. Get to know your ecosystem, new, used, OEM dealer, auction, logistics, tech, and more. You can get a lot of information on the ATI Auto Business YouTube homepage. People are still doing that. That's pretty cool. We are the ecosystem's neutral zone. I prove it every week because the senator says the golden age is here. And that's interesting because Ford says tariffs are going to cost $1.5 billion. So, not sure. Tuesday night says the automotive ecosystem. That's where you are right now. You are here. Last week, supply chain chaos and port congestion with simple forwarding. And if you haven't checked it out, you can go on YouTube. And you can actually, here's the meat. Skip ahead to about 35 minutes. There's some interesting port stuff. China, shipbuilding practices made in China when a manufacturing country gets investigated. And Temu and Shane. Good conversation there. On Thursdays, I have industry logistics. I'm going live like every other week now. And, was this last Thursday? Yeah, Green Lane. Save money on diesel with Green Lane. Yeah, there's some nuggets in here too. Again, you can skip ahead to about 25 minutes. You can click on these time codes if you don't know. In the description below the video, route planning, fuel stops. There's a demo of how it works. It's pretty cool. Green Lane, diesel purchase discounts. All right, let's do some news. Hey, what's up, Mark? How you doing, buddy? Thanks for saying hello. Okay, so Ford says the Trump tariffs are going to cost about $1.5 billion as Q1 net income dives 65%. That was on the cover of Automotive News, and it's surprising because it's well, Automotive News is pretty good about sharing both the ups and the downs. That's good. Thank you, Automotive News. The automaker said the gross impact would be $2.5 billion, but it will mitigate that with about $1 billion in offsets. Ford's estimated tariff exposure is significantly lower than the $4 to $5 billion costs projected by GM, which builds a larger percentage of its lineup outside the U.S. Now, what I love about social media audiences beyond LinkedIn is, here's a CNN did a video. Ford doesn't expect significant car price hikes, even as tariffs will cost $1.5 billion. And the comments are great. Let me get this straight. They can afford to absorb Trump's tariff tax, but when it comes to paying your workers more, can't find any money. Because their prices are already inflated, they've always had a buffer to ensure they always come out ahead. Yeah. And cars are already overpriced, always sugarcoating a shit sandwich. Telling you, I knew it. I'm telling the automotive industry week after week, guys, you can shovel it around in your backyard, but beyond that, people know what's going on, dude. They know. All right, tariff update May 5th. Repair costs poised to spike under new parts tariffs. A new 25% tariff on imported auto parts officially took effect on May 3rd. Automakers that assemble vehicles in the U.S. may qualify for partial tariff rebates. Oh, thanks, Sugar Daddy. Offering a credit of up to 3.75% of a vehicle's value in the first year and 2.5% in the second year. Yeah, what an offset. Certain auto parts imported from Canada and Mexico compliant with the U.S. may also avoid the new tariff, but only if they meet strict regional content requirements and are properly documented, sir. God. However, the same protections do not extend to import replacement parts used in vehicle repair, maintenance, and service operations, because y'all can shove it. I know you voted for me, but I don't care anymore. Unlike parts used in new vehicle manufacturing, imported replacement parts face the full weight of the 25% tariff and no exemptions. This distinction is especially significant for collision repair shops, dealership service departments, fleet maintenance, dealership service departments. That's fixed ops. You can't do that to fixed ops, who rely on a wide array of aftermarket components, which many of which are sourced from countries like China, Taiwan, Mexico, and South Korea. Don't say China. But meanwhile, you know what? We're not going to talk about that. Let's talk about AI and daily training and leading with clarity and not fear. Great job, everybody. And as if it wasn't enough, because now I'm on the rampage. This is on the cover of a news source. Job openings down for a year. For the year? For a year? The year? No year? Job openings down. Really? Job openings down. Okay. The number of job openings was little changed. Wait, you just said it was down, but then you said you admit it's little changed. Ah, okay. Over the month, hires held. Changed little. Is that down? Within separations, quits and layoffs. Oh, edge down. Oh, okay. Number of job openings was little changed. Job openings rate changed little. Number of job openings, decreased in the federal government. Oh, okay. The number of hires was little changed in all industries. Let's check with ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT, how many automotive jobs have been cut in 2025? As of early May 2025, the global automotive industry has announced significant job cuts. Major announced automotive job cuts in 2025. Those are just OEMs, by the way. Overall, the auto industry has announced over 45,000 job cuts. I thought job cuts were down. Marking a significant increase compared to the previous year. Oh, gosh, I don't know what to believe anymore. 3 phases of AI integration. AI as an assistant, AI as a team member, AI as an autonomous operator. What? Workforce shakeups are coming. AI can either fill staffing gaps or justify headcount reductions. 33% plan to use AI to reduce... You're going to reduce a third of the staff using AI? Employees will soon be managing and delegating to AI agents. What? Most leaders are far ahead of employees in AI usage. Just tell them job cuts are down. Print that. Even CBT News has job cuts. And you know, here it is, job cuts. Meanwhile, on the left and the right of that headline, you've got tariffs are great. Tariffs blow. You know, pick one. It's up to you. Let's see. ARA Beef. Do not be coerced into signing Chase's contract, says ARA in a letter that I read online. Pay close attention to the contracts being presented to you, especially from lenders and forwarders. I thought y'all were buds. If a representative tells you don't worry about the contract, don't worry what the contract says. If a rep tells you, okay, here we go. Don't worry about what the contract says. We're not enforcing that part. Or, that's just boilerplate language. This is the automotive industry. It's all about relationships and leadership, and we're all buddies. But what's written in that contract is what you will be held accountable to. No matter what it said, no matter what I said. If the language in any agreement contradicts what is being promised, do not sign it without first consulting an attorney. You need an attorney? I thought we were friends. No matter how trusted the relationship may feel, the written agreement is the binding legal document. The end. Oh, no. There's a Copart follow-up, too. A few days ago, ARA issued a letter to the industry addressing concerns about the certain bad actors within the lending community. What happened there, Jay? Within the lending community operating under the Copart program. Since then, we received numerous calls and emails. While there may be differing opinions about the Copart program itself, many lenders have explicitly stated that they neither support nor wish to be associated with unethical practices. Wow. The word Copart is in that paragraph? It is disappointing that we have yet to receive a response from One Main Financial Services, called out the institution at the center of these concerns. Wow. Wow. I thought I was controversial. House votes to block California's ban on new gas-powered vehicles in 2035. Well, of course. Nobody likes Joe Biden. Jeez. By passing these resolutions, the House has made it clear that we will not let one state's radical agenda, they love that word radical. Who doesn't? Dictate what Americans can drive. People deserve the freedom to choose the vehicles that work best for them, not to be forced into unaffordable electric vehicles that may not work for them. So not everybody's into EVs. Okay. Sales jumped double digits in April as consumers grabbed deals ahead of tariffs. But I thought the dealers were just awesome at their jobs in April. Dang it. Car buyers trying to beat tariff price hikes did a bank run on dealers' lots in April. And it'll be that way the rest of the year. Did you see Carvana's income numbers? Skyrocketing. Expected new car production cuts already impacting used car sales and prices. It doesn't sound that bad. But this is why dealers should embrace failure as a growth strategy. Man, when leadership is cranked up, you know there's actual problems in the world. Yeah, Ford April sales surged, dealers embrace failure, and mass market AV adoption. You know, there's other stuff to talk about. I was checking with ChatGPT. You know, what is the biggest news in automotive right now? ChatGPT gave me the news. Do I need all these news sources that I'm not sure about? I don't know. But ATI is where everyone, well, some people learn more about how the automotive industry actually works. New, used, auction, logistics, recon, compliance, and tech. I don't ship cars. I move information. Allegedly. I also have a podcast. You can get that, you know, if you're not busy. And you can go to ATIAutobusiness.com and you can click Contact Us. We are now going to get into the show. This is AskOtto one-click inSearchX shopping. Now, we're going to learn together what this is, and whether you're live or on demand, whether you're on YouTube or LinkedIn, welcome to the show. It's just getting started. Got a couple ads after the break. Eric Brown is going to be here. And in my second little video here, you're going to learn more about how AskOtto works. So stick around. We'll be right back. There'll be a quiz.
Understanding web traffic at your site can be a funny thing. Who, when, why? Then you have things like bounce rates, visit times, return traffic. The point is, you have traffic, but are you capitalizing on all that traffic and why they came to your site to begin with? You may do moving, vehicle inspections, car auctions, custom car building, car clubbing. Quotify is the first online shipping utility feature that helps you to retain the relevant traffic and capture business which is typically just sent away. It instantly allows your visitors to see multiple shipping companies' rates and live reviews with an option to book the shipment now or email it for later. If you have car shipping relevant traffic, then why not swing the bat and make some money along with some other added benefits? The best part of Quotify is that it's free. Yes, that's right. We actually pay you to offer your visitors something they most likely need anyways. So let's wrap this up. It's a totally free utility feature that will increase your site visit times, lower your bounce rates, increase return rates, and we even pay you to use it. Sounds too good to be true. It's not. Sign up today or call now to speak with a commercial account specialist.
What if turning website visitors into inbound calls was as easy as adding one button? AskOtto.ai? It is. Just add Save to My Phone on your site. No complex setup needed. When a customer saves a car, offer, or service info to their phone via text, AskOtto automatically connects the consumer to your dealership with an inbound call. Our AI captures their phone number, vehicle interest, name, address, and vehicles owned, seamlessly updating your CRM. Customers don't need to search for your number or wait on hold. AskOtto calls for them, connects to your team, and even analyzes the conversation. With just one simple button, you get 8x more inbound calls, more sales, and more service appointments automatically.
Okay, that is AskOtto. So we are about to learn more about AskOtto. We have Eric Brown here. Please do help me wish a warm welcome to Eric Brown, CEO, inSearchX. Eric, can you see me and hear me okay?
I see you and hear you okay.
Great. I see you. I hear you. Do me a favor. Please say hello and tell us a little bit more about you.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. Jay, appreciate the invite. Always excited to talk about myself. So that's great. A little bit about me.
Please.
I'm a serial entrepreneur. I had a company before called Dadian, which was a behavior analytics company in automotive that a company called IHS purchased, known as S&P Global. And so anyway, I've been deeply curious about consumer behavior as it relates to the path to purchase in automotive. And so I started measuring clicks back in '09 and scoring intent and consideration and analyzing behavior. And now we are using AI to remove the friction I saw on that path to purchase. And so saw a problem in the behavior or the path, the maze to find a car, and said, hey, there's got to be a better way to do this. And now I'm working on that after selling the first part.
Well, it seems that you were onto something early on, because hasn't as I like to say, the world has tilted your way.
It has. Craziness, yes.
That is. When I say that, for anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, please explain what AskOtto is and why the world has tilted your way.
Yeah, so it's interesting. When I started this, I thought, this is going to take forever and it's going to take a lot of money. And then things like OpenAI and that came along, and basically you got artificial intelligence as a utility, which has allowed us to innovate and iterate, that's not a word, innovate and iterate our process as we've learned from consumers engaging. So anyway, at the heart of things, AskOtto is a digital assistant. Sort of old school analogy I use all the time is, hey, Betty, get me Charlie on the phone. And then 20 minutes later, hey, Charlie's online too. The difference is Betty, or our AskOtto, OTTO, and you can find it at AskOtto, OTTO.ai, it can call any number in the world, knows the phone number, knows the prompts, will wait for a live person to be detected. And then when that happens, your digital assistant will create a conference call with that company. So whether that's Amazon, we call Amazon every day, for example, or there's Delta Airlines or your local dealership. It really doesn't matter to the AI. It's, as we sit here, is dialing numbers, waiting on hold, and connecting consumers to the companies that they want to speak to based upon the prompt they sent via text to their digital assistant.
Yeah, see, that's what gets my attention, is that you're saying that, like in that video. I thought that video was pretty well simple in explaining the fundamental, which is, if I'm interested in a car on a website and I click it, or I engage somehow with that listing.
Yep.
then AskOtto will help ring the dealership and connect me with somebody? Yeah, tell
Exactly.
me more.
So it'll do a couple of things, depending on what the call to action is. And I think the video you ran was one we produced for Dealer On and Dealer.com, which are integrating our technology into their platforms. And we're excited here in over the next 30 days to bring this to their customers. But basically the premise is, hey, as a consumer, I have intent, I have interest, and I want to catalog that intent. And today we do a lot of that cataloging with photography and text messaging. And so in this case, I can push a little button like save to phone or please call me. That's the integration we have with Lotlinks, for example. That's the CTA they use. Lock in this price, whatever it might be that I want to catalog, save to my SMS. Well, then that wakes up AskOtto, that SMS message that results from that call to action that's embedded in inventory or even stories. We have auto insurance stories out there where they can say, hey, I want to talk to an insurance specialist, have one call me. And again, our AI is calling Geico in that example, and then connecting a consumer to Geico when they answer the phone, perhaps the next day even. And so what happens is that text message comes in, our AI sees that and says, oh, I've got 615-555-1212 wants to speak to Fred Haas Nissan about this Nissan Altima, this 2020 Nissan Altima. Oh, wait, the store's not open. So I'm going to say, hi, thanks. I'll place this call for you. I'll connect you with the first specialist in the morning when they're available. And then basically as a digital assistant, it'll keep you informed about, okay, I'm now calling Fred Haas. I'm going to connect you with that. And even after the call is over, we can do things like, hey, tell us about that experience. Or if Fred Haas Nissan, this example, or the Luther Group, a whole variety of dealers that we work with, want to message something after the call to sort of reinforce the message, we can do that. And on top of that, we are analyzing the call for performance as well. So we're analyzing the voice of the customer to say, did that sales rep do a good job? Are they more or less likely to buy a car now? Is the content on the website aligned with what customers are asking in the phone calls? And that can go on and on forever. But the basic premise is, hey, I've got a digital assistant. It can connect me with anybody I ask it to. And I carry it around in my pocket. It's a contact in my SMS thread.
Right. And so with where we're headed, where we already are, where you've already been, is that our AI tools as consumers help us engage and move faster, which this is doing.
So I believe in one. I have a bunch of acronyms, and Jay, you know me a little bit. I live on my acronyms, but my first one is an acronym for the word why, which is what is happiness to you? WHY, what happiness to you? And that is what compels pretty much every consumer decision. Like right now, there's something about me spending my evening with you that says it's going to enhance my happiness at some point down this path. And so I'm willing to invest the time. And that's true whether somebody thinks they're going to buy a Honda Accord or a microwave or go on vacation to Marbella, Spain. Okay. And so that's true. Then the next thing we say is, okay, well, what's the friction? What's the resistance between me and my happiness? Remember the pursuit of happiness, sort of key line there, right? And so then we're always constantly looking for those products, services, technologies that remove friction, resistance for me getting to my happiness, where I find happiness, whether that's bottled water, because remember a faucet was a big deal once upon a time. Now we won't drink it unless it's prepackaged. And remember we had phones along the wall long before we had them in our pocket, and we rode horses before cars, and it's just a constant evolution. And so that's what I think about, and that's why AI's adoption rate is unprecedented. It's multiple times faster than the iPhone ever was, which was multiple times faster than VCRs ever were, and TV, and just craziness. And that's because people have immediately seen that, hey, this thing removes a lot of friction from my ability to find my happiness.
Eric, you're a thinker.
Well, only late at night after a glass of wine at dinner. So there you go.
Yeah. Sure. But yeah. I mean, it seems like you're creative all the time.
Yeah, it's a disease, but I'm trying to.
I agree with that statement. That's correct.
Yeah.
I'm creative all the time, and it hasn't, brought me everything.
I've always lived by something I call fearless curiosity. And sometimes my wife loves it, sometimes my wife hates it because, you find something that sparks you and you're going down that rabbit hole pretty fast. And AI, by the way, is the greatest video game ever invented. Because you can just sit there and just go and go and go and go. And then you turn on the voice and you put it in your pocket and put your headset on. You talk to an AI all day long and learn about everything you ever hope to learn from without ever touching your keyboard.
You just made me think of something. In my news, I saw something. I kind of saw it earlier. I didn't originally see it. And it said that leaders, management are ahead of employees as far as AI usage. And I
Yeah.
thought, whoa, that's going to continue to
Interesting.
grow.
That is interesting. Yeah.
That is very interesting. It's not parallel to the rabbit hole creative discussion,
Yeah.
but there are disparities. And I think that's what I'm hitting upon. We've seen like the technology disparity, and now we've gotten laptops to third world countries to catch them up with computing.
Sure.
AI is going to grow that gap again.
Oh yeah. But and history in a sense repeats itself, right? There were guys with swords that were way ahead and people with, cannons that were way ahead, the guys with arrows and there were catapults and it just, I used a lot of military analogy there. I don't know why,
It's
but
all good.
right.
It
And
was
there were
analogy.
people
I
in
love
space,
analogies. You
right?
can't predict what you're going to do with an analogy.
No, you can't.
Don't 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 rope me in or whatever.
Yeah.
See, um,
Yeah.
so getting back to AskOtto, using AskOtto, it's probably addictive.
It can be. I will say, like, we have a lot of marketplace integrations, and it's fascinating to watch that behavior in a marketplace because we'll see a consumer, um, first engage Ask Auto on a Toyota. One I use often when we're showing this to new people, new potential customers, is it first text message was a Toyota Camry at, I think it was Burnsville Toyota, and so then they've saved that to their phone. They've triggered Ask Auto to call Burnsville Toyota. By the way, a lot of this behavior we see late at night after stores are closed. And so this is another thing to capture that intent when it's fresh and capture and activate that call, if you will, without a lead form, I might add. The consumer never saw a lead form. They saw one button and then it basically performed the act of a lead form. And but we'll see that Toyota Camry request come in right after it. Another Toyota Camry, though, a Walzer Toyota, then another one, a Luther Toyota, then and then it just keeps and I can show you many instances where a consumer has sent us 8 or 9 cars in one evening that they have interest in, and as one of, I think I referenced this already, one of our customers referred to as cataloging intent, which I just think a great way to put that, because we remove that friction of a lead form, and to that, consumers and the data we've gotten back so far, 8 times as many people will say, "Call me," or catalog their intent, if you will. I'm going to steal that one, I think, at this point, and then fill out a lead form. And then what's interesting from a proficiency standpoint, from a friction, so we're not only removing friction for the consumer to capture the vehicles they're interested in and connect with dealerships about those cars, but we're removing friction on the other side of the equation too for the dealership because they're not having to follow up with that lead form. So again, we do a lot of work with the Luther Auto Group, and one of the things they point out to us, it's about 800 to 900 calls to get 100 forms. And if you call 100, 800 or 900 phone calls, you may get 20 to 30 people. And I've heard this from multiple dealership groups. Well, that cost of following up 800, 900 goes into those 20 calls, 30 actual conversations. And you're looking at $50 to $60 to get somebody on the phone. Well, by using AI, not only do you remove the friction of having to follow up because it's all inbound, that increases the capacity of your sales team, but it also removes the cost and the sort of the friction your sales team feels by calling somebody 8 times and never talking to them. So that's a huge game changer in terms of creating that automated connection on one click. Or as ChatGPT the other day when I was working on some flyers for Dealer On, ironically, and dealer.com as well, said, here's a headline for you, turning traffic into talk. So instead of form fills and chasing.
Yeah, no, totally. It's reducing friction, in this case, doesn't say enough about how it's helping both sides of the equation, as you said, and capture intent, cataloging intent. We're always fascinated when there's an amazing invention. Someone says, well, it started on a napkin at a restaurant in Chicago.
Yeah.
Do you still have that napkin? God, I'd love to see that, right? Well, here, and you said midnight napkin, and I like to say, where'd you get that idea?
Right.
You're at the moment of intent in the middle of the night, and nobody had to really do anything to capture it. And it's part of the sales cycle if it turns into a sale.
Right.
It's part of the CRM. It's brilliant.
Yeah. It's people say, well, forms that they create a lot of friction. There's only 2%, 1% fill rate. They forms are painful. And then, it's like the doctor joke, hey doc, it hurts when I raise my right arm. Well, then stop, right? If forms are friction, then let's figure out ways to remove them, not figure out better ways to respond to them. Because the first friction point is we don't get them, and so let's remove the need to fill out a form to have a conversation.
Yeah, no, forms are painful, and we all know that.
Yeah.
That's just, we know that, but we still make people do it anyways.
We still, and we have dealers, they still, by the way, I say to dealerships every day, I say, look, if you want to keep getting forms, you can keep getting forms, but at least give the consumer the option to activate a phone call with you without a form. And if nobody chooses that option, nothing changed from today.
Ooh, you have like a Pepsi challenge here you can do.
Right. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
That would be good. You could shoot that in dealerships. Here's a form and here's a button.
Right.
Go.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's
the
right.
AskOtto dealership challenge.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's do this. Let's bring in Jade and
we finally get some smart people in this.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's great. Look at that live chat going crazy. Mark, it's me and you and Eric and Jade. I like to joke about how people have a million things going on now. There are a jillion podcasts and a billion videos to watch. So I'm always excited when anybody shows up. Jade, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Jay. Glad to be here with you.
It is great to have you here. Jade, please say hello and tell us a little more about you.
You bet. So I am happy to be coming to you from Delta Sky Club in one of those cool little cubicles.
Well,
Nice. Unexpected for tonight, but glad to be with you. Jade Terreberry, Senior Director of Strategic Planning at Cox Automotive. And so I've been with Cox for 10 years, started on the product and engineering side, and then ran all of our sales and business and operations analytics for our consumer brands for about 5 years for all 22,000-ish of our clients, and then have been on the operations and strategy side for the last couple of years. And I always say to all of my Cox colleagues, though, I came from the automotive world, and if I ever take off my automotive hat, send me back. So I kind of play the bridge in between the industry and our dealers and our consumers, and then all of the cool stuff that we do and build and service on the corporate side.
We're honored to have you here, and I'll say this before we move back into AskOtto. You have a podcast. You want to tell us a little bit more about your podcast?
Of course I do. Would love it. So, we are a little over a year into the For the Road Forward podcast. You can find us on Apple or Spotify or b2b.autotrader.com/For the Road Forward. And subscribe to be one of the first to hear when we release a new episode, bonus episodes with automotive brilliance like you and Eric. But I thought about our tagline. I've said from the first day we started ideating on what the podcast was going to be about, and I just said, my goodness, there is so much noise in this industry, and your opening news segment just kind of outlined that. There are so many things that dealers and operators and salespeople and consumers in the automotive space have coming at them every day. And so the purpose of the podcast is just to get the smartest industry leaders and experts and champions on to talk about the automotive trends and hot topics that should be on every modern dealer or OEM's radar, but it's really about cutting through the noise to drive real results because there's just so much out there, misinformation and data coming at you everywhere. And right now, there are some big winners and big losers from all of these disruptions that are happening. We see market share shifts and shakeups every day, and it's only going to continue.
Wow, great analysis. All right, so we're gonna have two cameras rolling then. One is Ask Auto as a topic. The other is we are in a podcast covering an important topic, and it's a thing now. It's as if media is an AI assistant to life. I just it was on the spot. I was thinking about
Sounds like a podcast.
It is.
right? It does. But it is.
Yeah. Talking about AI, and I want to say I came out of planning meetings with my Cox Automotive counterparts all day today here in Atlanta. And AI, of course, was a hot topic. And it was interesting how many folks were saying before they really embraced how we can use AI in our business and our jobs, they started using it in their personal lives. And, I think it's a great example. We were looking at these charts that said, like we're testing things like natural language search and completely reinventing and reimagining the search experience across Auto Trader and Kelley Blue Book and dealer.com websites that we're excited to have Eric and AskOtto integrated on here in the near future. But 13% of consumers are already starting to use things like ChatGPT to do their search. And it's just, it's a completely new way of finding everything that we now have to start thinking about how we embrace tools that allow consumers to shop the way they want to shop.
Yeah. It's this is anecdotal, of course, but just tonight at dinner, my wife was sharing it at tennis today, that there was a little powwow among the tennis players, and the topic came up how they weren't using Google anymore, and they were using ChatGPT or some version of that for their search, and they hadn't used Google in a while, and that really kind of set me back because I thought, well, I don't use, I know my behavior has changed, and I know a lot of people around me, but we're immersed in it. But to hear that, the tennis team is talking about their movement away from a traditional search engine to use an AI, I was stunned that we're already there, quite frankly.
Yeah, and that may not even be, that's not the first top of mind demographic or consumer segment that you think's having that conversation standing out on a tennis court in the middle of the day.
I'd love to give you the demographic, but my wife would be mad at me sharing the age of the women that she plays tennis with. But let's just say they're no longer in college. We'll just leave it that way. Yeah. Yeah.
So, in fact, okay, two things. One is you just made me think again of the day that I realized that not everybody was on Facebook constantly. I was like, wow, that's really weird because that was the way it was for quite a while. Yeah. Right? Which now seems like the 80s. But on the AI tennis conversation, now you're going to, I don't know when, maybe already, maybe next week, the wearable AI that's listening to everything going on, when does it start to interact as if it was another person? Next month?
Well, so you could do it now. So I have a son.
But do you?
So I have a son. So I'm using my family anecdotally. I'm a data guy, so I'm going to yell at myself later tonight because I'm using anecdotal stuff. But it's interesting just to watch behaviors change because now he's a data scientist. His work for Amazon, all that. He's very much into all of this. But he wears, his AirPod tied to the mic, ChatGPT, and virtually does what you say now.
Really?
Driving, yeah.
So he's listening. He's listening to it.
It's listening. He's talking to it. One of his favorite things is to pick a topic while he's mowing the yard and have a conversation with ChatGPT on that topic. And so by the time they've got like an acre. It's a little bit of time.
That's awesome.
By the time he's done mowing the yard, he's educated himself on foreign imports from Kakistan or something, Yeah.
And the AI's already recommended that he replace the blades.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I never even thought about that.
Choppy.
Yeah. But it's just interesting to think that rather than listening, and I hate to say this, listening to a podcast, and he consumes a lot of podcasts.
But he's
actually having a conversation with an AI while he's mowing the yard.
That's kind of It's that's beyond what I was talking about. Actually, we're no longer a passive audience.
Right.
The thing, what I've seen, like at NADA, is look how many people had cameras and microphones at NADA.
Yeah.
It's no longer an audience. Everybody's recording and doing, and yeah, that's kind of where this thing is headed.
It's like well, it's a digital assistant, as we were describing AskOtto earlier, that is there to assist me on command, basically.
So, and in fact, that brings us back to, so For the Road Forward, right, is the name of, is that the Cox Automotive discussion
Well, so
format that I saw?
yeah, it is. And
Yes.
we talk about Cox products and we talk about, this massive data lake. That is the biggest differentiator across Cox. We built it as a, multi-billion dollar CDP, which has been that hot buzz term in automotive for the last couple of years. But AI is as good as and only as good as the amount of data that is feeding it. And so I think when we think about the road forward from a Cox Automotive perspective, and we think about where AI and tools like Eric's and others layer in, but you start to think how everything we do is going to change. And we're collecting over 5 trillion vehicle insights annually, 3 trillion buying signals or consumer signals, either in the ownership funnel or the purchase journey. And you take all of that and you start to think how we segment it out. And I think Eric thinks along these lines as well as he's developing his products. But you take that data and you think about the things that AI can do. And we at Cox Automotive have been in this space for over a decade, but we're starting to really think in the buckets of, you've got insights, which is like what happened, predictions, what's getting ready to happen, recommendations, what should I do about it? And then lastly, automation, which is just do it for me. And, you think about that spectrum. And, I think phone calls are a great example of we see consumer experience, consumer satisfaction is surprisingly at an all-time high for automotive, both new and used. And it says that dealers, the ones that are doing a great job adopting technology and giving consumers that omni-channel experience that they're looking for, the ability to start or stop and pick up exactly where they left off without having to put information in again, is what's leading the charge on both the consumer satisfaction. And you said it earlier, Jay, this technology that is connecting consumers when they have that intent right now and they want to do it. It's on their terms, it's on their schedule, but it is truly a win-win-win for the consumer, the dealership, the manufacturer, and all of the vendors and partners out there that are starting to create these seamless, connected experiences that are driving efficiencies across the board for the ones that are adopting it.
So you take, oh, go ahead, Eric.
Well, I was going to say what's interesting too about this next iteration with AI, and Jade and I have talked about this. Their CDP, great solution, and what they bring to that is the observational data, and what AI brings, this sort of like my son again having that conversation with an AI. Those prompts are dialogue data, right? Those conversations between the consumer and the sales rep is dialogue data. So now when you start to combine dialogue with observation, the insights are unprecedented. And the ability to, really know what your CSI score is going to be, long before anybody takes a survey is all there in the observations, because the observations are the how and the what to the why, and that dialogue is the why. And so when you get all three of those into a CDP, like Jay's describing, then you really have an unprecedented ability to respond to the consumer, maybe even before they know they need it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, your son talking to the AI, I think, is the rabbit hole here, because, Jade, with all that information, insights, predictions, recommendations, and all the data, I mean, right, this is a massive amount of information. That his son on a lawnmower talking to AI, if his son could sit on the lawnmower and talk to Cox Automotive AI,
yes,
he is doing the podcast.
Yeah.
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 And this is
That's right. That is.
Yeah.
I mean, and
that's next level.
It is next level, and it's bringing those real-time connections that consumers are craving. I want this self-guided, self-controlled experience that allows me to do my research. You know, consumers are doing more research today than ever before, even though they're visiting less sites because they have more of that relevant information right at their fingertips. They're visiting less dealerships. But what we see in every bit of that research, and this is before AI has really taken off. This is looking at thousands of consumers that purchased last year, and what we are seeing across every theme of research is that they are first finding the car based on the price and maybe the distance in which they're willing to drive to make the purchase or the experience that they want to have. But every single step along the way, and depending on the age demographic, it might be 10 clicks or it might be 250 clicks from click to close. And what they're weeding out in the middle are dealerships, the experience, the ones that are meeting them where they are, giving them the relevant information, relevant content, and allowing them to move further down the funnel at their own pace. And AI is helping there. And the you know, we're in a people business. We also have seen that in every bit of research that we did. Like the dealership is here to stay. Most consumers, even the ones who really value the e-commerce and online pieces, most of them still want to see it and touch it and feel it. Still automotive. Hands on the wheel seals the deal, right? Like we've said that for decades in this business, and in most cases it's true. Now, if you can bring it to them online, great. But the bottom line is the organizations that are embracing AI and all of the efficiencies that come out of it, they're taking their 15 car a month guy to a 20 car a month guy, their 12 car a month guy to a 15 car a month guy. Like this is letting everybody do more while giving the consumer the experience that they want. And we're seeing profitability come out of it, both in efficiencies and in increase per deal for vehicles retailed. It's really just an awesome thing to see.
It Jay touches on a good point too about having your best performers, focus on what's important, right? And one making it more intelligent, but the other thing AI is freeing those performers up to do is less administrative work, less inputting and note taking and follow up again to the Ask Auto, and more having conversations, spending more of their time actually talking and doing tasks that yield results rather than documenting results. Does that make sense?
It does. One of the questions that I think is, okay, so if you're using, let's say a consumer is using AI, first time buyer is using AI, weeding out dealerships or, streamlining the process, however you want to define it. Does Ask Auto come into play somewhere in the search and the recommendations?
Yeah, so we have on our back end the ability to look at owner dialogue essentially. So we have millions of conversations, interviews with owners about the cars they purchased, why they purchased, how did they shop for it, what did they shop for and not buy, what they like and don't like about the car. And we can layer that into, and we have actually a large language model where you can conversationally say, I got 4 kids, and we travel a lot and we're big golfers and all the kids need car seats, which Mercedes, even you could be, that in fact we have a program with Mercedes coming out on this exactly, which Mercedes fits me. And then it looks at the dialogue with all the prior Mercedes owners and says, well, where's the doppelgangers, in that data that are most reflective of what this consumer just said is important to them, is their why, right? Is where happiness is for them. And then says, okay, based on who you told me you are and what's important to you, I found a group of people that mirror you or your doppelgangers, and these are the Mercedes in this example they like the most, and then provide links to, and somebody like Auto Trader, that here's those cars now on Auto Trader. So we use the voice of owners, if you will, to inform the voice of buyers or the decisions of buyers, and then we use the data infrastructure, if you will, in this example of Auto Trader, to deliver the actual goods, if you will. Right?
Maybe Ask Auto could be an AI podcast that just exists with all of its historical data, everything it knows, And as soon as there is a hit, it kind of comes to life, and it's now a live podcast with that person.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is off topic a little bit, but to that point, I actually try to encourage my son to, hey, those conversations you're having, you can say to ChatGPT, make an audio recording of this now. Like save all of this as an audio recording, and there's your podcast. So people could listen in.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Right.
Does ChatGPT? Okay. Here's
a little different than what you said, but
well, it is different. But at the same time, we're brainstorming, and that's what I was gonna say, Jade. I'll bet some of your meetings, there's some head spinning with all of the thoughts and ideas and data, which is great. I mean, I love it when a meeting blows my mind, rather than I'm like wow, I'm so glad it's over. Right? We have both in life. This is life. But getting to that, I'm not even aware anymore what ChatGPT can do. Have we lost the ability to even know what it does?
Well, that was a hot topic of conversation today in the meetings I was in. The how vast the use cases are. Like I don't think we've scratched the surface, across any of our businesses. But when you go back to the point Eric made a few minutes ago, like let's just gonna keep it there in that consumer experience vein. But when you take all of those things that a consumer is asking and thinking and shopping, and you start to append consumer profiles and not only that consumer, but then you start to stretch across an entire identity graph and data lake of consumers who have asked the same kinds of questions. And you start to think about vehicles becoming more of a lifestyle purchase than a transportation purchase. We see that again and again. And so as these consumer data sets get more rich, not only is it helping the consumer get further down the funnel, but the reach and applications of what you can do with all of this data, from audience creation to like the things that have really been challenging. Like I was at the Digital Marketing Strategies Conference last week in Scottsdale, Pash's organization, and I was on stage with Pash, and he's talking about CDPs and AI and all of the things that we're talking about today. But when you really start to think of how this will transform everything that we do, like we all need to be thinking 5 years from now, like what are the roles? What are the things that our people should be focused on? And then what are those real use cases that the AI and the data should be focused on? And that really is where we not only believe, but already see and are sure it is Cox Automotive's differentiator, because that data set underlying empowering every product, every piece of advertising, every service that we offer, every consumer profile, it all connects now. And it's that ecosystem of connectivity that drives what consumers want and what dealers have been looking for such a long time. But we have to start to get our dealers and our OEMs culturally ready for this, because it is going to look different. The roles in the stores are going to be different. The things that people should be doing that only the people can do are going to be different. And phone calls have been a challenge for so long. Phone calls are gold to a dealership, but we've got to think, if tools like Eric's can make those connections, we still have to focus on how we master having the conversation once we get them on the phone. And so, I think it's just thinking about what are the processes and things that we need to make sure our people are really spending time on now, so that all of these really relevant and valuable connections can go as far as possible to drive profitability.
Amazing. You said data lake, and I wrote that down. I like that. I'm stealing that.
Right.
Okay. You also said 5 years from now. And I've been thinking about this. I've been saying, I think generally in our, general syntax of humanity, we say things 5 years from now, 10 years from now. But it's turned into 1 year from now.
Yes.
2 years from now. And we know this is true because I got two pieces of evidence. One is COVID seems like a millennia ago or last week.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other is, if you look at all of the changes just in the automotive industry, just year by year over the past 5 to 10 years, man, it turns over quick with some things. People, companies, headlines, whatever it is. Eric.
Well, I'll give you a real, and Jade, I'm sure you experienced this too. This is a real world experience that AI is changed for me. And that and like Jade, I'll speak at various conferences. And when you're, like I just submitted for NADA, and I think Used Car Week just came out too. And you're submitting, Used Car Week's not till November. Okay. It's months from now. And and Jade and I were both spoke at the Automotive Intelligence Summit in April, and you submitted that months before. Well, you can really get a sense of how fast AI is evolving. And I have an analogy for this too, Jay, you'll appreciate. But anyway, it is that you submit that topic and you submit your bullet points and you have a little video you do, and sometimes you have the deck as well. And then when you get the email a few months later saying, hey, we're going to add you to the agenda, we're excited to have you there. You go back and look at it, you're like, I would never submit that today. Or big chunks of this are no longer relevant, or this has moved on so fast. And we're talking months, where it used to be years. And I think Jade made a very good point in her last comment about the sales teams and the people catching up with AI. And because one of the risks here, and Jade alluded to this as well, and I this is my analogy, is when we first started with AI, and I've been working on it for years now, but it was kind of a nice little dog that we had on the leash next to us, and we could kind of walk along with it, to your point of and we kind of knew all the tricks the dog would do, and then the dog got a little faster, and we have to walk a little faster to keep up and get a little faster. Well, now it's
the dog is running.
Now it's running, and it gets away. You can no longer
That's awesome.
hold a leash because you cannot keep up with it, and it's gone and around the corner, and you stand still, right? And you hope the dog comes back to you. You have no idea where that dog is. You trust it's coming home because it's going to get hungry.
This is an amazing analogy.
Right. And that's where we are right now with AI. It is like, there's things like Manus and Lindy just in the last couple of months that, completely changing the way ChatGPT approaches. And ChatGPT has one coming out in a couple of weeks, where you basically leave the bounds of, OpenAI, and anyway, I won't get all that. But the point here.
No, but totally. And now it's not just ChatGPT.
No.
I'm looking into a different AI probably every week now.
Yes.
I just looked at Perplexity today.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even really know how to use it.
Yeah, that's
right?
Yeah.
But what I've been focused on is, and we can't even get started on custom GPTs, because what is that? Right?
Well,
how do you make your own?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of multimedia AI that I've been looking into. There's way more than I was aware of.
Well, I'll give you, the video creation, just how fast it's improving. So I have an account with one of the video creation ones, and the video you shared was actually done by a professional, probably using AI, but they went through the editing. Because if you go back 6 months ago, I was using one of those tools to build a explainer video. It just didn't get the job done. I did it again over the weekend, and I would say it is 100 times better than where it was, and I could get what I want from it if I was willing to put in the additional time. So this still comes down. I'm going to hand it off to somebody else who's more skilled at that tool to make the changes that I want, because I need to invest my time. To earlier point about salespeople spending their time talking about selling cars, talking about cars, and not about how do I log into my CRM, and that's where I think we're going, is with these tools, these dogs that, you're better with the sleigh dogs, or the, what do they call the dogs that go through the Iditarod and all, anyway, and I'm better with the show dogs.
Those huskies?
Yeah. But anyway, I digress, but the point.
We're talking about dogs now. Well, no, we're talking about AI a lot now, and that is really weird too. How much did you talk about AI 2 years ago?
Oh, right.
Now, well, Eric doesn't
You talked about it in circles.
Eric, this is just me and Jade, because Eric's been talking about AI for too long.
Probably 10 years. Yeah.
But I have, so I'll go first. I don't even think I really talked about AI 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Not really. 1 year ago, some. Now I'm talking about it all the time. And then in 2 years,
by the way,
I won't even exist. It'll just be AI.
I was going to say, that's my point I'm about to make, is you'll know when it's truly arrived is when you stop talking about it.
Isn't that right? Yeah.
Whoa.
It's not a buzzword anymore. It's just a part of life. And I think that would be my final point, Jay, is I know we're getting close on time here, but embracing technology, embracing AI, embracing vendors and partners who are on the cutting edge or the leading edge of this transformation that is going to happen so fast. It is a cultural and deliberate choice that dealers and OEMs need to make if they want to protect the market share that they have today and gain more for the future.
I want to thank you so much. You know what I did is I didn't know how long it would go. By the way, this is the best video ever made at a cubicle at Skyways. Jade, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having me.
And Eric, amazing conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate
This was
it.
really,
All right, good to see
really
you,
cool.
Jade.
You too, Eric.
Talk to you soon. All right.
I'll put you back in the waiting room. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Thank you. All right, that was cool. And in the live chat, say Dave Rozek, thanks so much for chatting and saying hello in the live chat. I'm showing that I'm on YouTube, but it is in LinkedIn too. And that is what's interesting. I mean, I really try to no longer worry about the number of people in a live show. I like to see some good numbers on demand. You know, it takes time, but there's so much going on, and I'm hooked on the thought of Eric's son talking to ChatGPT while he's mowing the lawn. That's amazing. That is so cool. I just started using Grok as well. I'll check out your links. And let's see, I have built over 500 GPTs in the last 3 years using it to check my SEO. Wow. Let's connect, Dave. That's cool. This is ATI Auto Business, and you know, that's another thing too. I apologize for confusing the car haulers that used to tune in here, but you know, a lot of those car haulers, they went out of business because this is, man, automotive is. I don't even know how to finish that. Thank you, live chat. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Jade. This is pretty wild. We're in for a wild ride. You got tariffs on the one hand, AI on the other. Man, here it comes. And I've had other conversations with folks. Everyone is just trying to hang on to the dog leash, and it just keeps, the dog keeps running faster. It's crazy what's going on, but it's exciting too. So if I can help you, please do send me an email, autotransportintel@gmail.com. Thank you for watching my content. Thank you for tuning in, and there will be more interesting guests and shows coming up. I'm going live every other week now, kind of, and I'm also fielding more calls that are coming in just from the internet, and if I can find a way where it relates to automotive, trucking, logistics, or AI, it's a show. So there's an applause button. All right, thanks everybody. Thank you so much. I'll see you again. No show Thursday. No show next Tuesday. There might be a show next Thursday, so I'll see you in a week or so, whatever. Until then, man, I'm submersing in AI. Take care. Good night, everybody. See ya.